Peace, everyone. Welcome back to another Art Club live stream. Only a few more of these left. Today I'm going to start coloring the project we started last week. And I'm still using the 12-pack of PolyChromos. I'm not adding any additional colors or anything like that. So same usual process. Yeah, as usual as it gets, I suppose. One sec, I just gotta make a couple adjustments to my microphone so it's not in my way. Oh goodness. I don't know what's going on. Like, I've gone through a few of these microphone stands, and this one is supposed to be like, it's supposed to be a really good one. I've had it for a long time, but it doesn't float. It like slowly falls. Not really sure what I should do here. Now it's just constantly falling. Okay, maybe that's good enough. Sorry, I'm just seeing if I can, what level of adjustment I have here. Okay, yeah. I don't know why this changed to now. I apologize. I think this should work. I don't think there's anybody here yet anyway. Okay. Please don't fall anymore. Alright, I think we're good. Oh no. Okay, I think we're okay. Right. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna wing the coloring here with the 12-pack. See what I can do. I'm gonna start with the burnt ochre, and there the microphone goes. Yeah, it's just gonna fall. I don't know why it's doing this. I didn't have this problem before, but now it just wants to fall. Okay. Stop falling. Alright, maybe that did it. I don't know. The mic stand is really, really annoying. Okay. Anyways, so I'm going to start with the burnt ochre. And there the microphone goes again. Let's see how far it falls. God, every time I think I've got it, it starts to fall. Okay, it just keeps going. And now it's just resting on my desk, which is not what I can have here. Sorry about that. Let me mute the microphone while I try to make this adjustment. Okay, I think it's good now. I guess the little thing was a touch loose, so I think I got it now. Okay, let's try this again. Burnt ochre. Yeah, I'm just going to really, really lightly apply this color to the skin. I have the camera zoomed in quite a bit, so this looks larger than it actually is. It's actually kind of small. But I'm going to blend it with the blending stump, apply light layers, and try to get the color the best that I can. All the colors in the reference are really saturated, which is not helpful with the 12 pack of PolyChromos, because the 12 pack doesn't really have highly saturated colors, with the exception of the teal. Is it teal? No, phthalo blue. The yellow and the green. Those are like really saturated colors, but that doesn't really help me with skin tones. That has pretty peachy saturated skin, but it should be fine. This burnt ochre should go a long way to making this skin tone look good. This plus some white, I think, will work nicely. Anyways, I hope everybody has had a good weekend and a good start to the week. I was going to stream on Monday, but time really just gets away from you, you know? I've been on an absolute tear in terms of programming, having just the most fun imaginable. I am working on. I thought that I was going to put it off later. Honestly, I did. But I'm working on learning 3D programming so that I can make a 3D engine. And I gotta say, it took me about 13 hours just to draw a triangle to the screen. Nothing three-dimensional, but just a triangle. And it uses the GPU. So I'm using a library called OpenGL, and it's just an API that allows you to communicate to the graphics card between the CPU and the GPU. And it's a lot. I think it was like 600 lines of code just to draw a triangle. It was pretty intense, but yesterday I got a few more things implemented, and I got 3D. So I was drawing cubes, and I was able to move around. So making progress. I have three-dimensional cubes in a three-dimensional space, moving around with a viewport camera, all in 3D. And it's taken many hours to do, but it's so rewarding. It feels so cool to just have nothing and then be moving around in a 3D world that you create yourself. It's super cool. Anyways, hey there, Chandra. Good to see you. I started the stream a few minutes early, but I probably shouldn't have, considering the technical difficulties I had for the past 8 minutes. Probably should have just got the microphone situated first. Truthfully, I was a bit impatient to start the stream. One of the things that I always tended to do was like prepare too early, and then I'd be sitting here waiting, watching time countdown, just because I scheduled the stream at a certain time. And I feel like there's no benefit to doing that, so why do it? Let's see here. To get a little bit of red, actually, I'm not. I'll just go with the what is this? The scarlet red or deep scarlet red. I'm just going to add a little bit of this deep scarlet red to the lip area and to the cheeks, a little bit on the nose before I blend, and then I'll do a little bit with the white also. I'm being super careful with this color because it's so intense, and I don't want to overdo the red. Just a little bit on the lips. I'm going to do the ears as well. Her ears sort of has that subsurface scattering effect where they turn orange. And then also in the shadow on the neck, I'm just going to bring in a little bit of saturation on the red. Like this is totally unnoticeable, but yeah. And then before I do any shadow stuff, I'm just going to smooth this out with my blending stump. One of the things that you want to be careful of if you're following along with this project or something similar is you don't want to brush the colored pencil pigment over the inked lines because they will fade. You want them to be nice and black. So it's more than just staying within inside the lines. It's actually staying off of the lines. It's not like a end all be all. Like you don't have to do it perfectly or anything. You can always return with your pens to re-ink, but then you have to return with your pens to re-ink. So it's either try your best not to work over those lines or come back and do it again, which only opens up the possibility of messing up your beautifully inked lines that you have you don't want to mess up. And especially if you're dealing with colored pencils on those lines, the likelihood of smudging or smearing or any of that stuff that you try your best to avoid, all you do is introduce that possibility again, but with more risk because it's more likely if you have a waxy colored pencil and you're trying to dig through that layer while inking, if it sits on anything too waxy, then it's not going to dry, and then the possibility of smearing just is substantial, obviously. Alrighty, I'm going to try to do the speck on the nose. Nice bright highlight. I probably should have actually done this first, but I'm just going to try to get a speck there on the nose. I should have cleaned the tip of my pencil, but it seems okay. And I'm just going to go over with a light layer of white to brighten the skin. There we go. That shows up a little bit better. I'm going to do the scleras. Just brighten those. A little speck inside the pupil there. I'm not going to go too heavy with the white. I think the eyes will look white enough even if I didn't cover them with anything, but I don't think it's necessary to overdo it in any way. Alrighty. I think I can add a little bit more red to the cheeks. No harm there. Not really showing up a lot, so. And it's not realism, so who cares, right? Can add a little bit of style to it. And And I'll add a little bit more on the tip of the nose. And just a little bit more to accentuate the lips. Just a touch. I did thoroughly clean this smudger before I started today, so at least I didn't. Yeah, see how like I added just the touch of red, and now blending it out, it's super red just out of nowhere. Like that's how delicate that color is, but I might be able to tone it down with the white. So just add a little bit of white on top. The thing with that red is not only is it very, very potent, but it's also a lot darker in value than what I'm going for, what I'm aiming for with the skin here. And that's what makes it even trickier, is that you add just a little bit and you're still darkening what you're not intending to darken. You're just intending to get a little bit of pink into the skin. And in this case, it's just overkill. All right, now I'm going to come back through with the same burnt ochre, to start establishing the shadows. I think this will really help balance out the over vibrant tones that I accidentally added. So I'll just come in here where the hair is and do these little cast shadows here. This color's, it's close enough. It's going to need some red in it, but it will get us started with the shadows. It's a little oversaturated, a bit too warm. So I'll probably add, instead of the red, I might add some of the magenta, get some of those purple tones that are always helpful. And let's, over here, a little bit under the eyebrow, little shadow there. And then, of course, this hair coming down. To the inside of the ear. There's actually two tones in the shadow on the neck. I'm kind of glad that I didn't choose a reference that has any more skin than this. Not even the legs, but the hands in the pockets and everything is kind of nice. Let's see here. Now for the darker parts of the shadows, I'm going to add just a little bit of the walnut brown. And this basically just the inside of the ear right there. And then the second tone cast shadow on the neck. And that's it. I'm not going to add this anywhere else. Just like that. And then I will grab the magenta. And I'll just put this extremely lightly, as light as I possibly can, just in the shadows. And then I'll blend it with the blending stump. And we should be left with some decent looking shadows. And this is just going to be extra subtle. You could totally get away with not even doing it, but that's not the way that I like to do things. Subtlety is everything. There we go. And let's see, I think I use that for lighter tones. I mean, nah, I'll just keep, this should be fine. I was going to change which end I used, but this is the clean end. And I'll just keep using the same, since it's all skin tone anyway. Alrighty, and there we go. Let's do the irises now. I'm going to start with the, what is this, the light ultramarine. And just do a little bit of this. This is sort of the base color. Our eyes are more teal than blue, but I can only make them the colors that I have, so I'll start with this and then I'll add the greens. I'm going to go actually with this phthalo blue for the darker half. Keep that bottom part pretty light. Just add this to the top half of the eye. I mean, you could stop here, honestly. The eyes look pretty good blue. But I like the teal. So I'm going to use the phthalo green, emerald green. Just mix this here. This should get us pretty close to teal looking eyes. Yeah. Pretty close. I'm going to use the light green. What's this, lime? Light, no, just light green. Just to heighten that saturation a bit. And I actually do need to go darker at the very top, but instead of black, I'm actually going to use the magenta again because it's a neutralizer, but also it's darker in saturation. And what I mean by neutralizer is that it is complementary. So you have green and you have red, which are complements, and when you add red to green, you neutralize the color. It goes towards brown, so complementary colors always go towards brown, so you're pulling saturation from, if you're adding red to green, you're pulling the green saturation out. If you add green to red, you're pulling the red saturation out. So it's sort of, since I'm going darker, it sort of goes towards black instead of like a dark red, or instead of a dark green, it goes towards a neutral black. And that's kind of what I want. It's subtle, but everything is subtle at the end of the day, so. Okay, the hair. I guess the hair next, yeah. I don't even know how I'm going to do this. Let's see, I'm probably going to start with the highlights. Let me see here. Tricky nonetheless. Tricky nonetheless. So I'll grab the white. And let's see here. I'm going to draw the highlights kind of just as lines starting off. There's a very faint highlight up here, kind of thin, and just goes sort of a halo a little bit. And then the bigger highlight through the bangs sort of follows that same pattern, but it's thicker. This is just my guideline here. So the hair is dark and the highlights are not even pure white. So I can totally get away with sketching in my guidelines with the white. this side of the head is lit, which is weird actually. It's more backlit than anything. So it's like you have the fill light sort of on the right side. That's why all the cast shadows are falling to the left, but you sort of have this green uh, fill light coming from the left that gives you this reflective green light. You can see it a lot on the fur there, where the highlight on the outer edge has that teal color. So that's how you get that effect. That line is supposed to be connected. I'll just imagine it connected. I'll just treat it as though it's connected. So I'm just going to do a rim light with the white here, pretty much down to that point. I'll leave that, and this part, maybe this part here, this part here, kind of a thick rim light. And down here. I'll do one here. Doesn't have to be exactly like the reference anyway, so. Over here I have a little bit of a highlight coming through the middle. And there's a few strings of highlights that cut through here, and I just treat those as lines, I guess, and then one that comes across like this. Yeah, and I think that's good. Now I'll come back up here and I'll actually draw in these shapes for the actual highlights here, because I can do these really bold, totally get away with it with the white, and just protect those highlights at all costs. And then when I fill in the hair with the, I guess probably the brown, the walnut brown, and then I'll skip over these, like I'll avoid these highlights, and then I can come back through with the green and blues to tone these highlights the teal color. Whoa. Why did my lights shut off? That's weird. Okay. I don't know why my lights shut off. No. Sorry, that caught me way off guard. I've never had that happen before. They're USB lights and they're plugged into my computer, so the fact that they both went off is very strange. All right, I think that'll work for the highlights. So now I'm just going to come in with the walnut brown. And I would describe the hair as black, but for the most part, it's actually just brown. So I'm just going to avoid those highlights. The highlights will show up more than they should. Oh, hey there, Diane. Good morning. My goal with the brown here is to just have a nice, smooth, consistent cover of the hair. I'll smooth it out, and then I'll probably add a couple colors. I'll probably add some of the phthalo blue to tone the brown into a bluish color slightly. Hair for this particular style is definitely the hardest thing to do with colored pencils. Snowy. Yeah, it has been snowy here for like 3 weeks straight. We keep getting snow. I think not yesterday. I think the day before yesterday we got like 5 centimeters of snow on top of what we already had. Um, and we have snow on the ground every day, or we've had snow on the ground every day. Um, in the afternoon, the kids go over to like the tiniest, most pitiful little hill that's I can see from my balcony, and they're always sledding. They're just sledding out there for hours. It's adorable, but it truly is a really pitiful hill. But they seem to have fun because they do it for hours. I'm sure they've been enjoying it. I'm hoping that we don't still live in this flat by the time Amelia is old enough to go out there and play in the snow. Hopefully, hopefully in the next year and a half or 2 years we can be out of here and be living in a more permanent spot. That would be really nice. That would be ideal. Sort of the game plan currently. I feel like things are going to get kind of hectic once Anna goes back to work. I don't know if she really if she really wants to go back to work or what. She seems very much wanting to go back though. Like that's what it seems like. Like she kind of tired of sitting around doing nothing. Sort of missing the activity of work. Maybe not the work itself, but the thing to do. I can totally understand and appreciate that feeling. Oh, the snow's past you. Oh, hey there, Linda. Is it just me or is everybody's YouTube name in chat like weird? Because I'm used to seeing names and now I'm not. I'm seeing weird numbers, and I sort of have to decipher the numbers with the picture. I don't remember if YouTube like YouTube made people's names different, or it's just a coincidence that everybody's name is different on my end, but okay. I thought you were Claire. I was not 100% certain. It's using your Google name. Is that what you see as well? Because it's not, I mean, I wouldn't describe that as a Google name. Maybe what you guys are seeing is different than what I'm seeing on my chat. Um, but yeah, it's I knew it was Diane because she's the only moderator and it has the moderation symbol. So that's otherwise I don't know what that says. So nice of YouTube to just change that for no reason. I feel like it would be so easy to be YouTube, really, because they make these changes. Of all the changes that they've made over the years, they keep making changes that either do nothing or make the experience worse. And I can't fathom it. How you can be like such a gigantic business with endless amounts of income that allow you to do anything ever, and consistently without failure over the years, they make the experience worse. It's baffling to me. It is utterly baffling. Because I don't know if you guys experience this, but um when I'll be like watching a YouTube video or something, and I'll switch to another video and the video will not load or play or anything. Like it's just a black screen that just has the little wheel that spins, and it's like I have like nearly the fastest possible internet, fiber optic internet, faster than 99% of the rest of the planet. And somehow a 3 minute or even 2 minute video is incapable of loading. It's out of control how bad the YouTube experience is now. I never had that experience. I mean, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 months ago that I had to stop using Google Chrome because the experience was so bad. And I have not changed my web browser in like a decade. I think I switched to Google Chrome probably around 12 years ago, if I had to say, like around 2012, 2013. Before that, I was using Firefox, but I couldn't do it any longer. The the integration and just nonsense just got too much, and it just seemed like everything was breaking. Not to mention they also blocked the use of uh was I can't remember the ad blocker. Like the actual Chrome extension, or not the Chrome extension, the Chrome browser just fully blocked, like ad block plus or something like that, something along those lines. And it yeah, so I had to switch. I was like, nah, you're not gonna take away my ad block. I'm sorry, but there's just no way. I don't know how anybody can exist on the internet without ad block. I mean, even with ad block, you can't escape the nonsense. So having it non-existent, I just can't imagine. Not having ad block when you quite literally exist purely online the way I do. Um, it would be like going back to the 90s, and it was it was about 20 minutes, I think, like 15 to 20 minutes of commercial breaks for 1 hour of television, right? Back in the 90s. And not having ad block on the internet now would be like easily 40 minutes worth of ads for 1 hour on the internet. Like that's what I believe it would turn into. And I'm not saying it obviously it's not the same in the sense that you can't watch your TV show until the commercial's over kind of thing because you obviously have like ad skipping in a lot of cases. But the visual noise on every website everywhere of unfiltered ads, nah, that's 1,000% worse than 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of ads for 1 hour of television. It's infinitely worse. It doesn't even compare. It's not even close. Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Like I'm totally spoiled to not having ads. That it almost feels like when one seeps through, it ruins my day. That's how it feels. It's like if I have one 7-second ad, whatever it is that is triggering that ad, I immediately leave it. I immediately leave. I I will forget whatever I'm watching or doing or anything. The second an ad comes on, I don't even flinch. Like there's nothing there's nothing uh, important enough to convince me to stick around. Honestly, I spend most of my time in the context of not being able to be served ads anyway. Like the only way they'd get me, and I'd find a way around it, is if they injected ads into the software that I use to like program. That's about it. And I'm pretty sure that would cause World War III immediately if they started doing some crazy nonsense like that, injecting ads into software. Or I mean, they already do it into the operating systems. Now, I mean, Windows does it. I haven't seen anything like that in Apple or, of course, not Linux. They wouldn't even be able to do that. But yeah, where you get, I mean, you click on your like home screen on your Windows and you get served like suggested ads or whatever right there at your home screen. Yeah, don't give them any ideas. I'm sure whatever idea or scenario I come up with would is nothing compared to how bad of an idea that they would attempt or have already thought of. I, no doubt they just sit around all day thinking about way they can force feed people advertisements. I'm still kind of baffled that ads even exist in the way that they do, because I'm so unconvinced by them. I don't I can't think of anything that I didn't explicitly look for that I ever purchased. I can't think of anything that I purchased because of an ad. Or have I ever come across anything that I then subconsciously was like, oh, I should get that? Because it's never the way that I buy stuff. I never buy stuff. What's the word I'm looking for? I never buy stuff. Um, Gosh, what is the word? What is the word? I can't think of the word. Sporadically, spontaneously. I'm never convinced to buy anything in the moment. And if I see an ad for it, I am that much more likely to avoid whatever product it is. even even if I would really want it. I've conditioned myself to avoid anything that has been advertised. So that if I see it being advertised, I know to not buy it, even if I need it later. That's how aggressively I avoid ads. Is that I boycott anything that is advertised to me. I totally mixed in the hair with the jacket here, but I don't care. Because this part is actually the color of the jacket, but I did the line art where it actually flows directly into the hair, so I'm just going to make it hair. I'll make that little part jacket, maybe. Nah, actually, I'm just going to color that too. It's fine, whatever. Yeah, yeah. I'm the same way. Like if I read because I always shop based off of like ratings and reviews, but I make sure that the reviews are consistent with reality and not some paid advertisement. And I always shop based off of like if I'm making I mean, I'm trying to think of I think the last sort of expensive thing that I bought was a vacuum cleaner. Maybe maybe like a year ago, I bought a vacuum cleaner and I obviously did not buy the first vacuum cleaner that was advertised to me. In fact, I didn't buy any that were advertised to me. But instead, I just looked for the kind that I wanted. I wanted the, the cordless rechargeable, small, easy to manage type vacuum cleaner that wasn't terrible. Um, and so I shopped based off of what I needed, not what was fed to me through advertisements. And I probably spent like 4 or 5 days um, reading through and really trying to find which one would be the best in the price range that I wanted to. And then, of course, because I was looking for a vacuum cleaner, every website that I ever look at for the following 6 months was trying to sell me a vacuum cleaner. You know, so nice of them. Alrighty, I'm gonna add. I don't remember. I'm gonna add the blue to the hair. I'm just gonna do like a light layer before I blend it. It's one of those things when you use dark colors, you realize how delicate the line art, the inked line art is. Not being as careful with the hair because it is dark hair to avoid the inked lines, and you can see that they are fading. The nice rich dark black of the ink is no longer rich and dark. It's sort of fading into the pigment of the colored pencils, and that is just a result of coloring over them. Unlike I did with like the eyes and the mouth and stuff, because I didn't want to re-ink those. Anytime you get into dark colors with this particular style, using colored pencils, I've always noticed that the inked lines sort of fade into obscurity a bit. It's not the greatest, but there's not really anything you can do. Yeah, gotta love getting a bunch of ads for the thing you've already bought and no longer looking for. Yeah, that's the best. Or oh, I think my favorite is when you talk about something you're never gonna buy, but then you have to see ads for it for like 3 weeks, and you're like, no, I'm not actually buying a jet ski. I don't want a jet ski. I had a conversation about a jet ski doesn't mean I want a jet ski. Please stop trying to get me to buy a jet ski. I don't even I don't even own a truck to carry a jet ski. My phone is listening to me, and now for the next week or so, I'm going to have to look at jet skis. In 10 more years, it's going to go from listening to your conversations about jet skis to just straight up buying you a jet ski. Your phone, the AI on the phone is going to be um, so advanced that your conversations just become your next Amazon purchases, and you don't even get to make a decision about it. You just hear the doorbell ring and you answer it, and somebody's delivering a jet ski to your front door. Can't wait for that. All right, blend this hair out and see how we're doing. The highlights are bold, but I will cover them with the blue, the light blue, and I think the hair will be done. Yeah, it would be awful. Oh my gosh, that is too funny. That is too funny. Oh man. Yeah, I've had a few of those. I think um well, I can't say last year anymore since it's 2026 now, but uh 2024 summer, I was looking at potential places to go for Anna and I, and that's when I planned our trip to uh, well, our trip was going to be several places down through Slovakia into Hungary, and then to gosh, what was it? There's one other place at the Mediterranean, just south of us. It's like directly south of us. Can't remember what that country is. I forget. But then we would go up from there to Vienna before returning home, and it was going to be like a 10-day trip that I had planned. I had all the hotels and everything set up, but then her mom got sick and we had to cancel the trip. But yeah, I was doing a lot of research, um, things to do, and all of that, and of course I got a million ads for vacations along the Mediterranean. We never did get to go on any more trips like that, and I don't see it happening anytime soon now that we have a little baby. But honestly, I've totally grown out of traveling. I don't know if any of you feel the same way, but I actually prefer to just not even leave my house. I am so I so much enjoy sitting here every day programming that I despise I despise leaving just to go to the grocery store. Like as soon as we leave to the grocery store, I am already plotting my return. The second like the moment I put my shoes on, I'm already wishing that I was on my way back home. Yeah. Yeah. The hair doesn't look too bad, but it's not as dark as I think it needs to be. It's hard to give up the work that you put in for the line art with the inking process just for it to get covered up by like a black colored pencil. I'm reluctantly darkening the hair. Right now it's not very dark obviously, but I'm going to have to do another pretty heavy layer I think of the walnut brown to get it even close to the value that it ought to be. But hair in this style is by far the most difficult with colored pencils, especially if you want a sort of a cell shaded style to it where the highlights and the shadows are super choppy. It's just not practical with colored pencils to do that. All right. I'm going to sharpen this pencil really quick. Hello, hello, Ingrid. I don't believe I've seen you in chat before. Welcome. All right, I'm going to just do another layer of the walnut brown before I do the highlights. And I totally forgot like the bottom part of this hair. This is also supposed to be brown down here. Too much highlight showing up. And I'm going to just do one section at a time to make my life simpler. Kind of a heavy layer, but not heavy pressure. Just a extra layer to get it darker. And I think I'm just going to leave it sort of this chocolatey brown. And then I'll bring in the blue to cover up the highlight. And whatever blue bleeds into the brown will be totally fine. I probably won't go beyond the hair today. So I'll finish up the hair and then that'll be the rest of the stream. And then if I don't get totally caught up in programming, then I'll probably stream on Monday. That was my intention this week, but gosh, I was just having a blast. I just couldn't stop, and then I totally lost track of time, and I didn't schedule the stream. And then it was like, before I knew it, it was like in the middle of the afternoon on Monday, and I was like, oh, I was gonna stream today, and I totally forgot. And I was like, it's Monday, and I didn't even think about it. I was this past weekend was just absolute focus. It was just laser focused from Saturday morning until Monday afternoon. It was just absolute pure focus. I'm doing three three projects right now. Like wait, no, wait a minute. One, two, three. I'm doing four projects. I'm doing four projects right now. I just started the fourth one yesterday. And I totally forgot that I was streaming today as well. But yesterday I obviously scheduled everything and prepared. Um, and I was working on the fourth project this morning, and uh, it was like 12. It was like 12:30, and I was like neck deep in um, setting up the working on the project, and fortunately, Anna walked in and like broke my concentration for a second, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm streaming today, and then I was like, oh, I have to get ready, and I had just enough time to sort of get ready. But one project that I'm working on, I'll probably finish by this weekend because I'm doing like one pattern at a time, and I have five patterns left. I think I have five patterns left. Um, and I may have mentioned it last week what I'm working on, but I'm essentially just building a console game. Um, a console as in the output window, not like a PlayStation. Text based um, dictionary kind of, where I'm building different software design patterns. And well, there's five principles, and then there's 24 patterns that I have. And I finished the state pattern this morning. That was the pattern that I worked on. For a while, I was doing like two and sometimes even three a day. But I'm also working on a 2D game engine and a 3D game engine. Those are two separate projects. One 2D engine just using SFML, and the 3D engine uses OpenGL. And so those three projects have been going on for the past week. And it was the 3D engine that I was working on this weekend that I was just enthralled with because I was super super like I'm really excited to have my own 3D engine. I've made four, maybe six different 2D engines at this point. Um, and obviously, like going from a 2D engine to a 3D engine is not trivial, even remotely. Um, I would say going from 2D to 3D is a lot like going from multiplication division into just straight up calculus. Like imagine, so you're doing multiplication division what in like fourth grade, maybe a little bit in third grade, but I would say like you're really learning your times tables in like fourth and fifth grade, like where you're doing flashcards like every day. Um, and so like imagine going from pretty much fifth grade, let's just say fifth grade, to probably second year of college. I would say because you're going to be doing linear algebra, you're going to be doing a little bit of calculus, mostly trig. So that's what it's like to go from 2D to 3D, is basically jumping from fifth grade to your sophomore year in university. Um, and yeah, it was super exciting, but also insanely difficult. And then the fourth project that I added on because I'm a masochist, is not it's still a 2D engine, but it's still using OpenGL. So it has 3D capabilities, but the focus is web based. So I'm learning how to utilize C++ for web based games that can be built with HTML, so that it can be played in the browser. Because right now, all of the project that I'm doing, um, or all of the projects that I have done game wise, uh, you have to actually download and run an executable, which, I mean, it's nice that I can like package up an executable and ship it, and people can, and you don't have to install it, but you run it on your computer. But there's also the thing about running executables from developers that you don't know if you can trust, because that's how you get viruses on your computers, is that you run executables or bat files that install spyware and crazy stuff onto your computer. So, um, but there's no threat in playing a game through the browser, So I figured, um, I figured it'd be really cool to learn some web development workflows so that I can make games that play directly in the browser. Um, where do I find my ideas? Um, my ideas basically come from one thing, and that's that I want to make games. Now, so pretty much up until about 6 months ago, I was exclusively working in Unreal Engine because Unreal Engine, when you program in Unreal Engine, uh, you do it in C++, purely. You don't have to worry about like some proprietary programming language. And that's why I went with Unreal Engine, because I don't know of another engine that you can do C++. Um, and I kind of got annoyed with Unreal Engine because it's heavy. And what I mean by that is, it's first off, it's a gigantic program that takes up like 50 gigabytes of memory, and it it even though you can make like mobile games and stuff. Truthfully, I don't even know how to begin making mobile games with Unreal Engine, uh, and there is a there's just so much stuff to learn with using the engine. It's an extremely powerful engine. I don't have anything against it, but for months and months of working with the engine, I felt I was getting farther and farther away from improving my programming skills because I was spending all of my time in the editor learning the editor tools. Um, and it almost had nothing to do with programming. It almost exclusively had to do with editor tools that had to be done in the editor. And I was like, I'm not going to get where I want to be with programming if I'm playing in the editor all the time. And so I thought, well, maybe I can not use Unreal Engine and I can try something else. And so I got interested in the Godot engine, and I thought, well, Godot is supposed to be easy and not super heavy. That's the beauty of it. Godot is super lightweight. You don't have there's no install with Godot It literally just launches directly from an executable, and it's super super lightweight. The other benefit is that it's multi-platform, and you just build for that platform like super easy. And so I thought, oh well, I'll just learn Godot, and then I can build my games, and they can run in the browser, or I can create executables or whatever, or I can create the executable for any platform that I want. Um, and I was playing around with Godot, but I found myself in the same situation, but in worse situation because Godot uses a proprietary language called GD script, which sort of resembles Python, and it's disgusting. I I'm just spoiled with C++ syntax that when I look at any other programming language, I just want to vomit. Especially something so high level like Python or GD script. Um, Now, I imagine there's some uh, sort of good way to organize the code so it doesn't feel so spaghetti. But I only lasted a couple months with Godot, and I really only lasted a few weeks with Godot before I was already looking for a way to program with C++, but there's not really a way of doing it without learning some other API for it. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this either because I really want to just focus on getting better at programming in general. Like, I want to be able to think better as a programmer, not spend time learning another software, um, some other editor or whatnot. And that's kind of where like my ideas have been coming from lately. And I can attribute some of it to going to school because I had programming class, and it was nice to just get back to just a blank slate. Like, I don't need to learn any software. I can just write code right there and print stuff to the console. And it reminded me of when I first started to learn to program, and I was just sitting there in Visual Studios writing text based games. And it was really fun to just purely be working with the language and not having to deal with um, some editor controls. It was nice to get back to that. And so I did that for a few weeks, obviously. Well, actually, a couple months. And when I got put in the right program, which still ended up being the wrong program, but the right topic, you guys already know that story, so I won't rehash that. But I had to pick an assignment for my programming class for the semester project, and I chose to do chess. And it was meant to just be it was meant to just be a console based game. So there was no GUI or anything like that. It was just purely text based chess. And I was like, that's easy enough, sure. Um, However, uh, before I made that switch, I had already been working on a 2D engine. So I was at that point, the engine wasn't complete at that point, but it was pretty close to, I mean, it's hard to say like it's even complete now, but I was drawing stuff. The game, I could create a closed game loop that was without menu, so I didn't have any user interface at that stage. But I could put images on the screen, and I was like, well, I mean, why make it text based? I can literally just make a chessboard right now. And it didn't take me more than a few hours um, to get a working chessboard that's actually drawn to the screen. And so I was like, screw it. I'm not going to make a console game. I'm just going to make a whole chess game. And in one weekend, I made the chess game. It wasn't finished, but the chess pieces moved. And if you followed the rules yourself, you would be able to play chess. Um, but I didn't have any user interface, so you couldn't restart. You'd have to close the app and then reopen it to play a new game, which isn't convenient. So in order to get the chess game working, I had to finish the engine. But by this point, um, by this point, uh, I was out of school. And I was like, I'm finishing this chess game. I'm having way too much fun. But in order to finish it, I had to finish the engine first. So I took like a week and a half, 2 weeks, where I finished the engine. And then as soon as I finished the engine, I refactored my chess game to work with the completed engine. And I finished the chess game. What video games are predominantly programmed in C++, but it's that's why I chose that language. Um, but I would actually say that that's probably not the case anymore. The back end of every video game is probably in C++. I think I think all the major game engines, Unity, Godot, and Unreal Engine, those are the top three, if I had to guess. And then maybe like Game Maker or something like that. They are all probably programmed in C++. I know for sure Godot and Unreal Engine, all of the backend is C++. And then also if you're going to program in Unreal Engine, it's C++. So every game made with Unreal Engine is C++. Godot is written in C++, but you program in GD script, which I really wish they wouldn't have done that. Um, but Unity, the the engine itself is most likely written in C++. I don't know this for sure actually, but you program your games in C sharp, which is not it's not the same as C++. It's not even I wouldn't even say it's related actually. I don't know a lot about C sharp, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have classes like C++ has. I don't know. I know the biggest difference is that there's no memory management in C sharp, so you don't have pointers. Um, I'm not going to try to explain what a pointer is, but there's just a lot of differences between those two languages. Just because they have a C in them doesn't mean they're related in any way. Um, but yeah, C++. That's why I chose that language, because when I googled 2 years ago what language I should learn if my goal is game development, um, Google spit out C++, and then and no joke, purely based on that, this started me down this journey of learning C++. There's just there's just nothing else to it. Yeah, literally Google. Some of these highlights are way too vibrant, so I'm just going to cover them with a little bit of walnut brown before I blend everything out and call it done. Anyways, back to your question, because like where I get my project ideas, there's an end game to all of it. So, um, I mean, my ultimate goal is to be a good programmer. Um, because if there's any chance whatsoever that I get to make the game that I dream about, and I don't even know what the game is. I don't know what the if I were to sit down and really think about like what game do I dream of making, it'd be a really difficult question to answer. It would really be difficult. And because I don't have that clarity of the specific like game that I feel like I could dedicate my life to, um, I know that the only thing that will ever hold me back from being able to realize that dream once it clarifies itself is my ability to program it. So the best thing that I can do now is maximize what I'm able to do program wise. And um, the influence of my choices on what projects I work on next, they are driven by what I don't know about programming games. And so uh, the fundamentals of engine building is something that I hit really hard because um, in order to like in order to build game systems, I need to understand systems, and that's sort of like what I've been obsessed with for pretty much the entire time I've been learning is building systems. I started building systems. I started with like a stack state system to understand, well, how do games work? Like the first thing that I learned was like what is a game loop? And it's essentially a conditioned while loop that just cycles repetitively, like endlessly until you break that cycle on purpose, like say you quit the game. And once you have like this infinite loop, you have to control, okay, how fast does this loop go? And so you use like you calculate delta time in order to control the tick rate of the game so that it's not like playing different on different systems. Um, and then I sort of got obsessed with like, okay, handling input. How do you handle input? Um, and this was all like console based stuff. So you can't really calculate your, I mean, you can sort of pretend to calculate um, delta time using the chrono library, but it's not, you can't take an input in real time. So it sort of defeats the purpose. But the next thing that I got obsessed with was like, how did levels change? Like, what are levels in games? Like, if you start a game and you're at the main menu and you click play, like, what is happening when you switch from like the play or like the main menu into playing, or even just like character creation or something like that? Um, and once I figured out how to switch scenes or switch worlds, because depending on the game engine, they sort of call them differently. I think in Godot they call them scenes, and then in Unreal they call them levels, um, and then the general, like the colloquial term, is world. Uh, and So I sort of got obsessed with understanding like what that is, how that works. Um, and then I got obsessed with inventories, and how data structures work in order to um, like how do you hold data? How do you manipulate data and like pick up items? Like what is picking up an item? Like how does that even work? That kind of thing. So I continuously get obsessed with these particular topics in system building because uh because first off they fascinate me. Like I love learning about this stuff. I love seeing how it's done. But beyond just being able to see how it's done, I love being able to understand them and to build them, to work with them and make games out of them. That's what one of my main project right now I would say is the design pattern project that I'm working on, and that one's a lot. That one's been a lot of fun because I it's basically just a text game, and I'm building all of these different systems that I have to learn about every day, because some of them I have never even heard of, and so it takes me a lot of time. And I always do it first thing in the morning. It's like the hardest thing. The first thing that I do is I build a pattern. And like I said, today I did a state pattern and I created a mock state system where you have a player and it switches between different animation states. And that was kind of fun. So you have a character, like how do you control a character's animation states um, to affect gameplay, but not to be restricted? Because like you would have a character and that character would be idle, right? They'd be standing there doing nothing. They'd be idle. And then how do you transition that character and what mechanics do you use to make that character transition into a moving state where it plays like their walking animation without, again, sort of like hard coding it directly onto the character? And then if you're walking and you swing your weapon, like you're not walking anymore, you're attacking, right? So you have this attacking state. And then if you jump, then you have this jumping state. And so I built a little system, a little state machine, essentially, um, that uses an interface to swap out the character states in real time. And it's it's just text based, so it's not like actually playing animations or anything. But the idea and the understanding of it um, is displayed in the code. And so by learning these patterns, I can apply these patterns to build systems to not just make games, but to make well designed games. Because if I ever want to finish a game, and I need to be able to add systems to the game dynamically so that it's not dependent on one thing or another. So if imagine I start a game tomorrow, which I'm not going to do, um, but let's say I want to make Tetris, right? Um, in order to make Tetris, theoretically, you could put everything in one giant file. It would be very hard to read because you'd have all these functions and structs and data storage containers in just one long list of code. And it would be really hard to like read through these. You'd probably be able to do it in like 2,000 lines, like super basic, super basic game. But imagine trying to fix an error, not necessarily an error, but fix a bug where like the game's not like working correctly. And you have to search through 2,000 lines. That's really bad coding practice because it makes fixing problems super annoying when I can assure you that fixing problems is already super annoying. Um, but so not only does it do that, it making the code itself unreadable, but what if you want to expand the game? Like this, let's say you have a main menu, but what about adding a high score system? Well, now you have to somehow sneak in a high score system in this spaghetti code that you have on one page. And it makes injecting that extremely difficult. But let's say you want to add, I don't know, let's say you want to take something out. How do you begin removing it when it's tangled in like just this long list of code? So that's sort of the purpose and the benefit of learning patterns in proper software development is that it prevents, the purpose of it is to prevent that occurrence of nonsensical bad coding practices that prevents you from easily updating and expanding on your design. If you take a simple game like Tetris that you can do in like 1500 lines of code and you want to make a full-fledged Tetris game where like there's levels and it gets harder and maybe you can choose between different visual themes, or you have a menu and a high score system, or maybe you have a competitive like 1v1 or 1v3 type system, uh, or it's online or something like that. In order to create that type of game, you wouldn't be able to do that in, I mean, technically you could do it in one file, but you're taking like 1500 lines and expanding it to 20,000 to get all of those unique features that you want to add. And that is just radically impractical to put into one file. I mean, that would be radically impractical to put even into the 5 files, let alone one, because you can't make it perfect out of the box. It's just not possible. It's kind of like that's the artistic side of it, of programming, that I like so much, is that when you when you're trying to design the architecture that the game lives on top of, there's a tremendous amount of thought and effort and planning that goes into it. It feels a lot like prepping your line art and transferring your line art and preparing your colors and creating your color palette. Like it's the same thing. It's just as creative. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where my ideas come from anyway. The longest possible answer to that question, but I mean it's a deep question for me, because every step every step that I take into learning to program, well, really to develop, like it's not even really about just programming, it's developing. um I just, every step that I take turns out to be a completely new space where when I look around, there's like an endless amount of stuff that I don't know, and it all equally interests me. So I'm just a kid in a candy store right now with all of it. Um, and I love all of it. It's so fun. I haven't come across anything that bores me, or like I'm tired of doing. I thought that the amount of typing that I do, I wouldn't really enjoy all that much, but truthfully, I've started to get pretty decent at typing, almost to the point that I can do it without looking at the keyboard, but I still have to look down quite a bit. Um, and because I don't have like a totally clear picture in my head, I'm going to do something while I'm still yapping here. I'm going to use some black to darken the underside of the hairs so that it sticks out a little bit more. Uh, since I don't have a perfectly clear picture of the game that I want to make, I'm just having fun making games in general and learning cool new tricks and things that I want to know, like making games available on the browser. That's my next sort of thing that I'm going to do. Uh, and I avoided it because I thought that I had to learn JavaScript or HTML, but it turns out I don't. And I learned that a couple days ago. And so uh, I I actually just made my first C++ to HTML um, right before I started streaming. And when you click on it, it opens up in the browser and it says it's working. It doesn't draw anything and there's no game, but it's proof of concept. I wrote the program in C++. Literally, it just says it's working, but it opens up in the browser. So the next step is to draw stuff and make a game that plays purely in the browser. And then I'll have a browser game. And then who knows what else I can do with a browser game, you know? Not my end goal to make a browser game, but it's cool to be able to make them because now people don't have to run a executable file. Heck, they don't even need to be on PC. They can just be on any computer and play the file or play the game directly in the browser. That's cool. I like that. I wanted to know how to do it, and now I'm learning how to do it. So that's that's what I was working on right before I realized that I was also streaming today. And so my next game will most likely be a browser game just for the heck of it. I don't know what kind of game it will be. Probably nothing too crazy, but something. And try to test the limits for that. In the meantime, I'll also be working on the 3D game engine because ultimately, I know for sure I want to make a 3D game. That is for sure what I want in the future for like the game I dream in is going to be 3D. Sometimes I am torn between 3D and isometric because technically you can fake 3D games in a 2D engine using an isometric camera. And that could totally be the possible future, but the reality is I mainly think of a third person over the shoulder type of 3D game when I think about the game I dream about, even though the picture of it is not clear at all. All right, I think that makes the hair look better by having those two separate sort of dimensions pushing back the darker hair. I knew the hair was going to be trouble before I even started. But I think that does it for today. I don't even know how long I've been streaming for. Oh my goodness, it's been 2 hours. Wow. I guess you get me talking about programming. 2 hours is nothing. 2 hours is nothing. So on Monday, I don't know if I want to start the jacket. I think what I'll do on Monday is the fur part, the undershirt, which is like black. It's basically matching the hair now that I think about it. I should have just done it. So the turtleneck, the fur, and then I'll do the skirt and the tights or whatever it is. It's what are those called? Tights? Are they called tights? Yeah, they're called tights. They're black. But I'll do the skirt, the tights, the fur, and the turtleneck, and then I'll leave the jacket for the last piece of the puzzle. Zoom out a tad. But that's where we got to today. Um, I think once the other colors in, it will probably look a little bit nicer, but I think it looks okay for now. Anyways, thanks everyone for coming by and hanging out. Um, I hope I didn't bore anybody too badly talking about talking about programming endlessly, but I don't really talk to anybody about it. So nobody's actually in the room with me. So I'm sort of just talking to myself about it, which is fine for me. I like to talk about it. I mean, I've always loved to talk about video games, and I could talk about them endlessly. And programming is the greatest video game ever made. So it kind of goes hand in hand, I suppose. Anyways, thanks again, everyone. I appreciate it. And I'll see you on Monday, given that I don't forget, but I'll try not to. Have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Take care. Peace.